Hey everyone, welcome back to the Crafty Couple. Today we've got some really fun Dollar Tree DIYs, including this letterboard sign that we were able to create with our Cricut Explore Air 2. We would like to thank Cricut for sponsoring today's video and giving us opportunity to work with them and share these ideas with you guys. So if you do enjoy today's video, please give it a thumbs up and let us know in the comments which project's your favorite.
For this first project, I'm going to be using one of these vases from Dollar Tree. I think they are pretty new and I really love the shape of them. I'm going to be using this stone Rustoleum spray paint and it's supposed to give it this really cool stone look. I haven't used it before until this project, so I was really excited to use it. One of our viewers gave us an awesome tip a while ago about using water in anything so that you get a straight line across. So I just filled it with water and then used tape to make a straight line all the way across the whole thing. And then I did tape it all the way up and put a bag over it and taped that as well, since we would just be spray painting the bottom. Once that was dry, I really did like how it looked just with the stone bottom, but I decided to add white at the top. So I just went in with the gloss white from Krylon and I just taped off the bottom portion and put a bag over it and then spray painted the top. And then I'm going to be decorating it just with this lamb's ear.
So here's that letterboard sign that we were able to create using our Cricut Explore Air 2. And the thing that I love about using the Cricut is you can customize projects in so many different ways to really get the exact look that you're going for, and it makes it so easy to do that. So the first thing that we're going to do to start this sign is grab some of these stakes from Walmart. These are 5-foot stakes and there was 4 of these in this package. I believe they were right around $5. So fairly cheap for all of them, and there's some really fun things that you can do with these stakes. So the first thing that we're going to do to create this sign is line up one of these stakes with the long side of our foam board from Dollar Tree, mark it off, and then I'm just going to use this jigsaw to cut that piece off. Now, what we're going to do so that we can have 2 similar pieces is just line these up and mark it on our other piece right here and cut it here. So this is one long stake that we're able to use 2 pieces of wood for. So this is going to be the 2 longer pieces of that foam board. And then once we have those cut, we can move on to the other end pieces. These are going to be our shorter ones. So all I'm doing here is grabbing a new stake. This is going to be our second stake. I'm going to place it in between the gap there and I'm going to mark it, and then I'll go ahead and cut that piece and then use that as a template for the other piece. So as you can see, there aren't any real hard measurements that you have to do here. We're simply just holding these up to the foam board, marking it, and cutting it where we need to. So after cutting those 2 smaller pieces, we should have a little bit left of our second stake, and we're going to go ahead and use that for one of our little shelves that we're going to hold our letters on. So all we want to do here is just cut off that angled piece so that we have 2 flat ends. And then what we'll do is use our third stake and we'll use that to cut out 2 more pieces that are the exact same size as that last piece. And that's going to give us our 3 different shelves that we can then put our letters on. And once we have those 3 pieces cut, we'll have this piece right here, and that's going to be the remaining piece from your third stake. So you'll have a whole 4th stake that you don't even have to use for this project. And this is kind of what I was talking about, those 3 shelf pieces on the inside. And this is kind of a rough idea of what our sign's going to start looking like. So what I want to do next, now that we have all of our wood pieces cut, we can move on to staining. I chose to do that early American stain from Minwax. And once our pieces have been stained and dried for a little bit, we can move on to gluing these. I'm simply just using some hot glue from Dollar Tree to glue these on. And I'm going to start with the longer piece. Go ahead and line that up on the very edge. glue that down, and then I'm just going to work my way around gluing each other piece down, and it should fit fairly well. Sometimes You may have to trim a little bit of that foam board off at the end, but it's not too big of a deal. Now, as I'm gluing these pieces down, I wanted to mention one thing that I was frustrated about when we wanted to do signs in the past. It's kind of hard to find letters. You know, you can find generic ones at Dollar Tree or maybe printing them off, but using the Cricut, you can really find custom fonts on their design space. They have so many different options, so you can really make it look exactly how you want. And that's what I love about having a Cricut now, is you can really hone in and make the designs that we want and not sacrifice that look. Next is to create our planks for our vinyl letters to go on, and I'm just using these little wood planks from Dollar Tree and cutting them at 4 inches. All I did was measure one, cut it at 4 inches, and then use that as a template to mark all the other ones, and then cut it with a jigsaw. And you can create as many letters as you want if you want to do a full alphabet. That way you can have more for the future. And then this next part is where I actually messed up a little bit on the measurements, and I'll explain that just so you have a better idea. But first, I did go ahead and paint these with white Waverly chalk paint. So originally what I wanted was a 5-inch gap from the top here and then in between each of these little wood pieces. What I actually measured out was 5 inches from the top right here to the top of the next wood piece. So it actually shrunk that 5-inch gap just a little bit. The wood planks luckily did fit in between that space, but it was a little bit tighter than I wanted to. I originally wanted this spaced out a little bit more, so just keep that in mind. If you do want to do that, make sure there is an actual true 5-inch gap in between each one of those, and you should be fine. I think it still turned out okay, and I really like the look overall, so I just finished it off and went with it instead of trying to redo all of it. And then the gap on each side turned out to be about 2 7/8 inch. So if you're doing that, each side should be that, and it should be pretty centered that way. And then again, all I'm doing here is gluing it down with hot glue. The hot glue from Dollar Tree really works well for us. This is a pretty solid piece as is. And of course, if you want to use something a little bit stronger, you're more than welcome to do that. Okay, now that we have our sign done, this is where we can really have some fun and customize our board with the font style, the size, and what we want this to say. So first thing I would recommend is measure out the size of the plank. So if you decide to do the same size, just measure that out so that when you actually go into design space, you know how big your letters need to be. If you do something bigger, obviously you want to adjust. But what I did was I went in here, found this font that I liked, and then I made sure it was the exact size. They have this grid here that you can line everything up and make it super simple. So all I did was went to add text, and then I went to this font that I liked. I wanted it really simple, and then you can click on it and then type in what you want. So for example, here I'm just typing in hello to give you guys an idea how easy this is. I'm going to move it up next to the U here, and it will kind of snap to the top there. And then you can just drag it and make it the exact same size. It will snap as you see there. And that way you know that you have the same size letters. And then I'll go ahead and just remove that. But then we have all of our text on one spot here. We can go ahead and start printing this out to put on our planks. Once we have it exactly how we want, we can click make it, and then it'll show us how it's going to look when it actually starts cutting. And if we need to move anything around, we can make those adjustments. Now we could just continue, and that's going to connect to the machine. And really all you have to do is follow the prompts on the iPad or computer, and then also on your Cricut machine. So once it's connected, it'll show you the blade, the material type, all that. And you can make any adjustments depending on what you're doing. If you're cutting something out, or if you're wanting to do like an iron-on project, there's so many different options that you can do and lots of different materials that you can cut. So it'll tell you that you need to load in your mat here, and then click this little button here to start, and then it does all the work. You just sit back, relax, and watch it cut. It's actually kind of fun to watch as well. And then right here, all I'm using is some matte black vinyl, a really easy product to use. And then once it's done, it's going to prompt you to eject the mat, and then you can pull it out and we can start weeding it and removing all of the extra vinyl that we don't need. Now, since I'm going to be using these on multiple different planks, I'm just going to cut out the letters individually, and then I'll remove the extra vinyl. That way it makes it just a little bit easier, so I don't have to use the full piece trying to lay these down on all the small wood planks. And this is what I was talking about, just removing the extra vinyl so that all we have left is our letter. And then once we are left with a letter, we can just use our transfer tape to press on there. That's going to lift up the letter and allow us to transfer that then to whatever surface we're going to be applying that to. For this, it's going to be our little wood plank so that we can start creating those letters. It's really that simple. There's not a lot to it. Again, when you're actually going through the design process, there's so many different things that you can do on their design space, designs, fonts, a lot of different things. And then what you can do there is follow the prompts, print it out, cut it out, and then all you're going to do is then transfer it onto your surface. It's really quite simple and satisfying to do. The reason why I love using the Cricut is the customization. So now I was able to go on there, I was able to pick the font that I wanted, the size, so that it fits exactly how I want on these wood planks. And it would have just been too hard to try and do that with just Dollar Tree stuff, or even things that you might be able to find at Walmart, because it just might not fit the size planks that I need it to. And I want to let you guys know, for all of you who are interested in more information on the Explore Air 2 or other Cricut products in general, there is a link in the description below. So I would definitely click through, check out any information that you might be seeking. I know it can be kind of intimidating at first, wondering how to get started and how difficult it might be, but it really is not that hard. There's a lot of resources online and on YouTube where you can watch and really figure out almost any project that you could think of. So I would just kind of take that leap, at least start figuring out if this is something that you want. But I promise you, if you want to kind of take your DIY projects to the next level and really be able to customize your items, this would be a perfect way to go. And the last thing that I'm doing here is just applying some of these Sawtooth hangers so that we can go ahead and hang this.
For this project, you will need 6 of these little pallets from Dollar Tree. What I decided to do was put 2 of them together, so I'm going to be running hot glue in the middle and then adding one of these popsicle sticks and putting it in the middle just for more stability. The hot glue worked perfectly fine for me in this project, and it holds all the weight that I would want on here. So just some like decorative plants and picture frames, candles, that kind of thing. So it can hold a decent amount of weight, but if you want to have it be a lot stronger, I would use like wood glue or E6000. You will just want to do the same thing for all 6 of the pallets. Now that those are glued together, I'm going to be grabbing 8 6-inch dowels from Dollar Tree and hot gluing them at all of the corners. This is going to make it so we can put another level on top of the pallets. So you will glue them on each of the corners, just wait for it to dry, and then here in a minute we will be flipping it over so that we can glue the other side to the bottom of the other pallets. This is what it should look like when you are done with the first one, and then you will flip over the other palette and flip over this one so everything's upside down, and then you will put hot glue on the bottom one and then put all the dowels on top. Just make sure that they are kind of in the same place on all of the corners. Now we have the first 2 levels complete, and we will be just adding third one. So for the third one, you will do what we did with the first one and add the 6-inch dowels to all of the corners on top. And then here in a second, we will flip it over just like the other ones and hot glue it onto the bottom. So just like I said, we will flip it over and then add hot glue in all of those corners. Just make sure everything is upside down when you do this. You can leave it the natural color like this, but I wanted a little bit more modern farmhouse look, so I'm going in with this Minwax stain. It is in the color Early American. This is what it looks like after it is stained, and I think it came out very, very pretty. You can just leave it like this, but I kind of wanted this metal look on all of the sides, so I'm going to be using this poster board that we got from Dollar Tree. I'm going to just be using the blue color that we had on hand. You can make this as big or as small as you want, but I made mine about 1.5 inches. I marked the paper all the way up and then I just connected all of the lines and I just cut it with a pair of scissors. And then I'm going to be using the one that I cut out first as a template for 3 other ones. So we will have 4 total for all 4 of the corners. Now that we have all of those cut, you just need to fold it in half since it'll go kind of around the corner. Then line it up with the corners and draw a line at the top so that you can cut it. I use that length for all 4 of the corners. Then I spray painted all of them with the matte black from Krylon. Now it's time to hot glue it on. Just add a little bit of hot glue on all of the little pallets and then you will just put the paper on top. When it was done, I realized how much you could see the dowels and I didn't want you to be able to see them. I kind of wanted it to look like it had a metal structure. So I just went in with some ink chalk paint from Waverly and painted all of the dowels. Now you can see all of the dowels blend seamlessly with the paper.
Thanks for watching, guys. We hope you enjoyed today's video. Make sure to click the link and check out Cricut and all their amazing machines and products that they have available on their website. And if you want to see more Dollar Tree DIYs like this, make sure to click through right here and you can check out this playlist full of a lot of other amazing Dollar Tree videos. And as always, make sure to subscribe and hit that bell icon so you can be notified every time we upload a new video.